Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with some old school wrestling for you. As I said last month, I will no longer be doing my recaps of the pay-per-views by AEW and WWE, but I did see All Out, and I just want to say it was a phenomenal show. And I would even go as far as say it was the best wrestling show I've seen since WrestleMania 35. Damn good show, not worth reviewing, just go see it if you still have a chance. But today I'm going to be recapping the events of WCW Fall Brawl from September 15th of 1996. This was, of course, one of the great War Game events. The show was held in the Lawrence Joel Veterans Coliseum, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and of course was only on pay-per-view. Our commentary team is Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. The pay-per-view starts with footage recapping what happened the previous Monday night on Nitro, where Sting had supposedly joined the New World Order. And that's why I wanted to cover this show, by the way. This is mere months into the New World Order storyline. It's only about 4 months after Scott Hall has debuted. And it's only 2 months since Hollywood Hogan has joined the crew to become the third man and revealed, they're the World Order. And this is the first pay-per-view after them winning and spray painting the World Heavyweight Championship. So we're very, very early into what was probably the most profitable storyline in the history of professional wrestling. The problem is that they stretched it out for 6 years in 2 companies. The opening match is a grudge match. Diamond Dallas Page taking on Chavo Guerrero Jr. The whole story here is DDP had beaten up and attacked Eddie Guerrero on a Nitro going into this. And Chavo's here looking for revenge in honor of his uncle. This is a pretty good match. The truth is, DDP always worked well with smaller guys. You go back to see any of his matches with guys like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, even Raven. Jericho, anyone slightly smaller than him, he could really do something special with. He was a real good match he had one time with Kidman on an episode of Nitro. DDP always worked really, really good with smaller guys. He could make it look like he's just throwing these dudes around, but while at the same time being very, very careful with them. You know what I mean? Great finish here at this point in this match. Chavo goes for a landslide. DDP spins him around. Diamond cutter. Never saw it coming. And DDP wins the opening match in 13 minutes and 7 seconds. We go backstage to the traditional, I'm used to it being the WCW.com online interviews. It's Sister Sherry and Harlem Heat and Colonel Parker all back there. But they're on CompuServe. And holy shit, I about forgot that thing even existed. Then we get a video package that recaps the entire NWO storyline, 4 months of it at this point. From Scott Hall's declaration of war after interrupting a jobber match to Sting supposedly joining last Monday night. And since we had already had the package covering what happened on Monday night just a few minutes ago, just before the opening match, and as well as the opening, the package to start the show was very much focused on the NWO and their rise to power over the last 4 months. This really felt like this whole thing was there kind of just to kill time for the pay-per-view. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe a match got cut. Maybe an interview got cut. Maybe Paige and Chavo went home too soon. I don't know what happened here. But this really did feel like just 5 minutes of filler. Pause for a second. Up next is a submission match. Battle implosion of tag team partners Fire and Ice. Scott Flash Norton taking on Ice Train. The far less interesting of the trains. It's Ice Train with Teddy Long in his corner. Like I said, submission rules only in this match. Now, I was disappointed this match only went second, mainly because it's far too early in the evening for a piss break. This is boring dog shit. 2 guys. I like Scott Norton, but Scott Norton is a guy who always works better with guys who can actually work. He's just a powerhouse. There's no real finesse or technique to him. He's just impressive strength. So when you put him in there with another bodybuilder that can do nothing but muscles, no, it's a boring match. It's a terrible boring match, especially when it's a submission match. Neither guy's really a submission specialist. The finish is Teddy Long gets his head in the rope. Scott Norton kicks him in the head. This causes a distraction. Ice Train locks in the full Nelson and muscles him down to the ground, rubbing his face into the canvas. Norton taps out, and Ice Train wins in 7 minutes, 8 seconds, and easily the worst match of the show. Up next, Mexican Heavyweight Championship match. When I say up next, I mean up next. WCW, one of the things I always liked about them, always enjoy going back and revisiting their pay-per-views, is the pay-per-view is the pay-per-view. Same thing with AEW last night. You'll have match packages for the big matches, sure. May have a couple of backstage promos for good purpose. Like they did, like I said, last night AEW, there's 2 backstage promos. Other than that, the entire show was filled up with match, clear the ring, get to the next match. No wasting time. And, you know, that's the way to do a wrestling pay-per-view, in my opinion. WWE, look, man, they'd have their long opening package, then their long opening spiel with announcers, then they'd have somebody come out and do the Star Spangled Banner, and then they'll have a match package for opening match, then they'll have the match, then they'll go to a fucking commercial for shop.com. I hate it. I hate WWE pay-per-views and their layouts, especially in the WWE Network era. You know what I mean? Anyhow, up next is the Mexican Heavyweight Championship, also known as the AAA Championship. Juventud Guerrera challenging Conan with Jimmy Hart in his corner. Iron Mike is guest commentator for this match. Conan, this is promoted and hyped and announced as a AAA World Championship match, but Conan does not bring the belt to the ring. If there's any more obvious way to telegraph there will not be a title change tonight, could it be forgetting to bring the belt to the title match? Of course there's not going to be a title match, so they bring the fucking belt. The belt's not there. And I wonder if this was more of Triple H's bitch of fucking people over. Of course, they're notorious for fucking people over when they do crossover shit. They fucked over WWF in 97. They fucked over TNA 5 or 6 years ago, if not more recently. They'll fuck over anybody they work with. They probably fucked over WCW here and then to let them take the championship, even though it was free promotion. And as far as I know, they didn't even want them involved with All In a few years ago. AAA is a very unprofessional business, a very unprofessional wrestling company, in my opinion. But this is actually a pretty hard-hitting match. It's a really good match. A lot of snug, scary-looking spots. Juvi and Conan usually work good. I don't like Conan's wrestler. I think he's very overrated. I think I've seen him have a couple of good matches over the years, and they're almost always with Juvi or Ray Jr. Yeah, I didn't like this match. The finish comes. He hits a sit-down, razor's edge powerbomb off the top rope, retains the title in 13 minutes, 45 seconds. Kind of a nothing match to me. Up next, a kind of card filler here. Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho. And while these guys would have countless epics over the years, especially in WWF, it's really interesting see how much the North Carolina crowd could not give a shit about Chris Jericho throughout the course of this match. Couldn't care about him one iota. Benoit is getting all the love just because he's a horseman and it's North Carolina, it's horseman country, which leads me to the question. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think Chris Benoit is the only non-American to ever be in the Four Horsemen. I'm not 100% sure about that. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If somebody who knows better actually watches this video. But I think that is the case. This match is pretty good. There's a couple of nasty spots. Jericho goes for like this suicide dive or like this springboard over the top rope. He seems to twist, smash right on the apron. Very scary looking. Part where Benoit back suplexes Jericho over the top rope to the outside backwards. Great. Benoit hits a diving headbutt, kick out. Jericho goes for the lion salt, but lands on his feet eventually. A back suplex off the top rope to the middle of the ring, gets the win for Benoit. Crowd is totally 100% Benoit. Good match, even though it kind of felt like just a card filler. There's no heat. There's no stakes. It's not even hyped as a grudge match or anything like that. So it's just a card filler. But you could have worse card fillers on a pay-per-view than Benoit versus Jericho, to be honest with you. Match went 14 minutes and 38 seconds. Up next, for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, Rey Mysterio Jr. defending against Super Calo. Again, I'm sitting down to watch this match, and it's just like, I know who's going to win this one, because I'm pretty sure Super Calo is a very memorable luchador from the late 90s, but I'm pretty sure he never won the championship. This is a good match. I was very surprised to see how much submission and ground mat wrestling these guys stuck to in this. It's nice to see when Ray is with a guy who's virtually his same size. He can kind of do the wrestling part of stuff and not just be this underdog bouncing around like Mighty Mouse. But this was a good move. But the finish was probably the most unforgettable spot of the whole goddamn show. Ray does a moonsault. Okay, you have like the divider of the two rings. It's War Games, okay? It's the night of War Games, so there's two rings. I haven't pointed this out yet tonight. But there's the two rings. Usually focus on the first ring closest to the ramp for most of the night. Ray is on the divider. He takes a moonsault off this ring, lands on his feet into the second ring, then springboards off the top rope here, gets a double bounce off the top rope on the first ring, hits the Hurricane Rana Super Calo to get the win. What a phenomenal fucking finish to an entertaining cruiserweight match, but wow, that finish is something fucking special, man. There's no way getting around it. Match goes 15 minutes, 47 seconds. Pause. Unpause too soon. Excuse me. Up next is for the World Tag Team Championships. Harlem Heat, baby. Booker T and Stevie Ray defending against the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Saggs. By the way, Harlem Heat will have both Sister Sherry, the sensational sexy one herself, and Colonel Robert Parker, or Tennessee Lee if you're basic, in their corner. This is actually really, as I remember, one of the better rivalries, tag team rivalries from WCW history. Nasty Boys and Harlem Heat always had brawls. And Harlem Heat, for some reason, are always the heels. Good shit. Anyhow. And, Booker T and Stevie Ray, they're one of my favorite tag teams of all time. This match was on the build to this. It was actually announced it was going to be the Heat versus the Steiners. And then on the go-home show, it's Nasty Boys are the replacements. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if one of the Steiners got hurt or they had conflicting deals with Japan or some shit. I don't know. But we get Nasties versus Heat instead. And I'll reiterate again. I don't know if I've ever said this before, but I was asked one time what are my 5 favorite wrestling tag teams ever. And I stand by this. I would narrow it down to no particular order here. The Steiner Brothers, Harlem Heat, the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, and Tully Blanchard and Art Anderson. One of my favorite tag teams. This match, however, was kind of stupid. I was disappointed in this match. It kind of felt thrown together because literally it's nothing but the whole match is the Heat isolate one guy, beat the shit out of him. His partner keeps doing stupid things, distracting the referee, allowing the assistants to cheat and all this kind of stuff. And just rinse and repeat. Finally get a tag. And then the other guy does the exact same thing. Jerry Saggs is acting like an idiot, distracting the referee and letting his partner get beat up. And then Brian Knobbs is acting like an idiot, distracting the ref, letting his partner get beat up. And they just do this over and over and over again until they run out their time limit and the Heat retain. I can't remember what the finish was. I think it involved a weapon. It doesn't matter. Because this was a weak match. This was a very, very disappointing match. It went on way too long. 15 minutes and 31 seconds. It felt like a half hour easy. This was not a good match. It was neither team's best day. And like I said, this was a good rivalry. These two teams had great brawls over the years. But this was not one of them. We then get a commercial for the Fall Brawl t-shirt. Order your Fall Brawl t-shirt. Why would you want to order a Fall Brawl t-shirt when Fall Brawl is over? By the time it gets to your damn house, it's got, what, you going to wear it to next year's fucking Fall Brawl? Stupid. A stupid thing. Again, a backstage interview here with Macho Man Randy Savage being interviewed by Iron Mike Tenay. Really just nothing here to say. Talking about his next match, the semi-main event coming up. But it's more hype in his upcoming match at the next pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc, will be challenging Hollywood Hogan for the World Championship. So we go to the semi-main event next. Macho Man Randy Savage taking on the Giant, who has recently jumped ship from the Dungeon of Doom to the New World Order. So it's super, super confusing here. So at the very last pay-per-view, Hog Wild, the Giant was the world champion, losing the belt to Hulk Hogan, representing the Doom, but now he's in the NWO, aligned with Hulk Hogan. Go figure. Even more confusing. He comes out to the ring. During his entrance, they're playing the Dungeon of Doom music, and then while he's halfway down the ramp, like they realize the fuck up, and then just flip right over to the NWO theme. It's so weird. Multi-million-dollar company, y'all. As much as I love WCW, and I really, really did, there's a reason they went out of business. And this was them at their height, when they were at their absolute kind of best, running away with the ratings every week. When Vince didn't have a chance in late '96 here. Ultimately, this match isn't much to write home about. Savage basically just trying to beat the Giant down, keep him from getting in the ring, go for the legs, wear him out. He eventually body slams the Giant, who is, of course, the Big Show Paul White. Hits the diving elbow drop, but Hulk Hogan runs out, distracts Savage. Nick Patrick's the referee. The Giant is clearly distracting Nick Patrick. Nick Patrick must be deaf, dumb, and blind calling this match. While the Outsiders and Hogan, all three of them, jump and beat the shit out of Randy Savage. Eventually, fucking Patrick just cognizant says kick back in while Giant just walks over and pins the Macho Man, winning the match. And the crowd just booed to high heaven. It's good if you're trying to build up. It wasn't a good match. It's not a good match at all. It's barely a match. It should have happened on Nitro. But what it's building up to and the story of what's happening going into the next pay-per-view, as well as how this night ends, it all works. We get a commercial for Halloween Havoc. We get the big dramatic lowering of the two cages. War Games! Right before the main event. We go backstage. Mike Tenay is interviewing Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, Lex Luger, Woman, and Miss Elizabeth. Surprisingly, the ladies don't get to talk. All asking them about, and Ric Flair basically insinuates, Sting brought the team together, but Sting's joined the NWO, but we're going to do this just the three of us, hinting that they don't need a fourth man. Then Sting walks up and says, hey guys, it wasn't me. I don't know what the hell happened last week. I don't know what you saw, but that was not me. Luger looks him right in the face, steps up right to him and goes, I looked you dead in the eyes, and I know it was you, Sting. I know it was you. And Sting just storms off. He says something, but it's just really dramatic, great soap opera shit here. So it's time for War Games, baby. And our team NWO is Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and the World Heavyweight Champion Hollywood Hulk Hogan with Ted DiBiase in their corner, and a fourth man yet to be confirmed. Taking on Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, and the WCW United States Champion, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, with maybe a fourth man, possibly if he shows up. What's interesting about this, too, is that Ric Flair's U.S. champ has been U.S. champ at this time for several months. And not one single time during this entire show is he mentioned as U.S. champ. He's not wearing the belt to the ring. He's not holding it in the back. He's not announced as U.S. champ. He's walking out. Not during his big, elaborate entrance that he's given by Michael Buffer. No mention of his current championship reign. I thought it was funny. So, Scott Hall and Arn start out with the 5, of course, because this War Games, the NWO, the bad guys get the extra man advantage. Nash comes in, then we get Luger, then we get Hogan, then we get Flair, and out comes Sting for the final man of the NWO. Crowd's booing, the commentators are heartbroken, the guy's doing Sting moves, but then the clock keeps counting down, but there's no fourth man for WCW. Hit 0 and outruns Sting, the real Sting, and he cleans house. He runs right past his partners and the NWO members and goes right for bogus Sting. Lays waste to this sorry son of a bitch. Goes after Hall, Nash, Hogan. He drops all of the New World Order by himself and then says, fuck you to his partners, and leaves. Lex Luger's in shock. He gets caught in a sharpshooter by the bogus Sting, plus like a crossface by Hogan, loses consciousness, and that's it. The NWO have won War Games, but the brutality is not over. They beat down on Arn. They're beating down on Flair. Lex Luger's trying to crawl up the ramp, begging for Sting's help, but Sting's not coming. They're beating on him. They're beating on him. They're beating on him. They're trying to pull up the cage, trying to get these men out of here. But no, the brutality just continues. Macho Man runs to the ring. Tries to fight him off, but they just beat him down too. Miss Elizabeth, who has been estranged from the Macho Man for the entire year of 1996, aligning herself with the Four Horsemen, comes to the aid of her ex-husband, saying, please, no more Hogan. This is your friend. We're friends. Stop doing this. Don't do this anymore. He throws her down, calls her a piece of trash, and spray paints NWO across her back while she tries to defend her fallen ex-husband. Show goes off the air with the four NWO members, 5 NWO members. Actually, I think they kind of run bogus Sting off at this point. But the 4 NWO members at the commentating booth, running off the announcers, talking about, that's it from here at Winston-Salem. There's this great little moment. If you've watched my Booker Mode, one of my favorite videos I've done, did a Booker Mode about what they should have done with Dusty Rhodes joining the NWO. There's this great moment here, a bit of a stare down between Hollywood Hogan and the American Dream, right before Dream walks off to go Tony and Bobby as the NWO to say goodbye to everybody at the end of the show, since they're taking over the entire business. Is it an unforgettable pay-per-view? Is it an exceptional War Games? I've seen better War Games. I've seen better WCW pay-per-views. But when you watch this show and you see what WCW, the kind of unpredictability that they're providing on a weekly basis here, I mean, it does exactly what a pay-per-view is supposed to give you. It gave you your money's worth for tonight. It makes you want to tune in Monday night. And it makes you intrigued about maybe throwing down another $30 next month. It's a terrific pay-per-view. An A+, kind of a forgotten classic. I definitely recommend, because it gets kind of forgotten because the NWO pretty much were in all the War Games matches during their NWO run. Of course they were. But this was something. This is a good show. This is a really good show, really fun. Just to kind of, if nothing else, just to see this era of pro wrestling when it was just starting to put its finger on the pulse of the social zeitgeist and pop culture. It's about to become bigger than ever been before. And yeah, it's something else to see. It's a very, very rewarding show to go back and revisit. Fall Brawl War Games 1996. Highly recommended. I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.